Africa was being taken, not slowly, not peacefully, but violently piece by piece. By the late 1800s, almost the entire continent had fallen under European control. Borders were drawn in foreign rooms by men who had never stepped foot on African soil. Kingdoms collapsed, cultures were erased, millions were forced under colonial rule. This period became known as the Scramble for Africa, a ruthless race for power, land, and dominance. But in the middle of it all, one nation refused to bow: Ethiopia. A land older than most civilizations, with a history stretching back thousands of years. A nation built on identity, pride, and resistance. While others were conquered, Ethiopia stood. Independent, unbroken, unconquered, and that made it a target. To understand why Ethiopia was different, you have to go back even further. Long before European colonization, Ethiopia was already a powerful empire. It had its own system of governance, its own military structure, and deep cultural unity. At a time when much of Africa was being divided and weakened, Ethiopia remained organized. Strong leadership played a key role in that. And by the late 19th century, that leadership came from one man, Menelik II, a ruler who saw the future and prepared for it. He understood something many others did not. Europe wasn't coming to trade. Europe was coming to take. At the same time, a new player was rising in Europe: Italy. Unlike Britain or France, Italy was late to becoming a unified nation. And because it came late, it felt left behind. It didn't have vast colonies, it didn't have global influence, and it desperately wanted both. Italy believed that building an empire would earn it respect, would prove its strength, would place it among the great powers of the world, and Africa looked like the perfect opportunity. Italy began expanding into East Africa. It took control of coastal regions, establishing a colony in Eritrea just north of Ethiopia. Step by step, it moved closer. But Ethiopia wasn't like other territories. It wasn't weak. It wasn't divided, and it wasn't willing to surrender. Still, Italy believed it could win another way, not through war, but through deception. In 1889, Italy and Ethiopia signed an agreement, the Treaty of Adwa. On the surface, it looked like a peaceful partnership, a diplomatic success, but hidden inside it was a lie. There were two versions of the treaty, one written in Italian, the other in Amharic. And they did not say the same thing. The Italian version claimed that Ethiopia had agreed to become a protectorate of Italy, meaning Italy would control its foreign affairs. But the Ethiopian version said no such thing. It was a deliberate manipulation, a quiet attempt to take control without firing a single shot. At first, the deception went unnoticed. But not for long. When Menelik II discovered the truth, everything changed. He rejected the treaty, publicly, firmly, and in doing so, he sent a message to the world. Ethiopia would not be controlled, not by force, not by trickery, not at all. Italy was furious, its plan had failed, and now its pride was on the line. So it did what many empires had done before: it prepared for war. But this time, things would be different, because Ethiopia was ready. Menelik II did something extraordinary. He united the country, different regions, different leaders, different forces, all brought together under one goal: defend Ethiopia. He called upon nobles, warriors, and citizens, and they answered. But unity alone wasn't enough. He needed weapons, modern weapons, and so Ethiopia began buying arms from Europe itself: rifles, artillery, ammunition. By the time war approached, Ethiopia was no longer facing Europe with spears alone. It was prepared. Meanwhile, Italy underestimated everything. It believed Ethiopia would fall quickly. Like so many others had, it believed this would be easy, a short war, a guaranteed victory, but history was about to prove them wrong. In 1896, the two forces met in the highlands of northern Ethiopia. At a place that would echo through history, the Battle of Adwa, the Italian army advanced with confidence. They had modern training, European tactics, and belief in their superiority. But what they didn't fully understand was what they were walking into. The Ethiopian army was massive, tens of thousands of fighters. Organized, determined, ready, they knew the land, they controlled the terrain, And they had one powerful advantage: they were fighting for their freedom. As the battle began, everything shifted. Ethiopian forces surrounded the Italians, cutting off movement, breaking their lines, overwhelming them from multiple directions. The terrain worked against the invaders. Communication broke down. Panic began to spread. What was supposed to be a victory turned into a disaster. The Ethiopian army pushed forward relentlessly, wave after wave. The Italian forces collapsed under the pressure. Thousands were killed. Thousands more were captured. It wasn't just a defeat, it was a complete and total humiliation. For the first time in modern history, an African nation had defeated a European army in open battle. The impact was immediate. Across Africa, it sparked hope. If Ethiopia could resist, maybe others could too. It became a symbol of resistance, of strength, of possibility. But in Europe, the reaction was very different: shock, embarrassment, and anger. For Italy, the defeat at Adwa wasn't just history, it was humiliation, a wound that refused to heal. Years passed, but the anger only grew. And then a new leader rose, a man who promised revenge. A man who would stop at nothing to restore Italy's pride. His name was Benito Mussolini. But this time, the war wouldn't be fair, it would be brutal, modern, and far more deadly. Watch part 2 where revenge begins. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe.